Hello and welcome to Hobby Vlog number 141. This week has been a lot about Battle Games in Middle-earth as I'm pushing to, well, I was pushing to get my collaboration one out and posted, which I did, and I'm looking to finish up next month. So I have done a lot of hobbying, but not quite so much for the vlog. But it's been a good week and I got to do another resin pour, and you'll see whether it was successful or not. And also started another project and worked towards getting to finishing both the Minehead and also the Dol Goldur Ruins, which I just want to get finished. I've also spent quite a bit of time painting. It doesn't actually show up in the video, but I've been painting books for the Orbs diorama, the library. So that's moving on, though I haven't actually shot anything specifically for the vlog this week because there wasn't anything particularly to show. But other than that, it's been a good week. I spent all day yesterday preserving, making chutney out of homegrown plums and apples, which was exhausting but wonderful, so that's more creativity. I didn't actually film it. I was very tempted. I've done one food video in the past on this channel and I was very tempted to do another one. Maybe next time I will, but anyway, been a good week. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do let me know what you think in the comments below, and yeah, I will see you again at the end.
Right, it's time for the magic of dry brush, and I'm going to do several different dry brushes over this. First of all, it's going to be with my dark grey, and this is going to be the heaviest of the coverings that I do, and I will do this over the entirety of the model. What this will do is it will bring up the texture, and it will give a base that I can then build up from with tans and other colours. I didn't quite want it to be that wet. Never mind, needs to be a little bit drier than I got it there. Might need to get some paper. Let's grab a little bit of paper to dry the brush on. There we are. But yeah, just going to go over the entire thing with this dark grey and let that dry. And then when that's all dry and nicely shaded, I'll come along with lighter greys and tans and greens and browns and all sorts of colours to bring out all the awesomeness of this terrain. And then a little bit of tufts, a little bit of flocking, and we'll be done. But let's get this done. I'll put some music on. It doesn't take long, but you better see how quick this is. There we are, that's all done with the grey dry brush. So I'll let that dry fully, then I'll come along with the lighter colours and I'll bring you along when I get to it. Okay, so the light grey is dried. So now we're going to come along, so the dark grey, so now we're going to come along with some light grey. And what this will do is it will allow the other colours which I'm going to add to really pop, and it will also just bring out some more of the detail on the piece. Now the one thing to say about this is, if it doesn't look like it's making much of a difference, don't get tempted to go over the top and add more and more paint, because it really is making a difference. And as it dries, it will really lighten up and show off. So I won't film all of this, it's the same thing as before, but just with a lighter colour. But once this is dried, we're going to start to get into the fun part. So I'm going to get the white chocolate and the Africa, and really start to put some different colours on, which will then complement the rest of the terrain for this western piece. So yeah, dry brushing is king. Alright, let's start on the white chocolate now, and then we'll start on, we can always bring it back or tone it around. This is one of the good things with dry brushing, is if you're careful with it, you can recover mistakes. But the purpose of this is I want this to be largely the colour that you see where there would be dust. So we're going to have patches of it around the piece, but that road particular is going to be heavily with this. And then when I've done the white chocolate, I'll come along with some darker, some reds and some purples and oranges and all sorts of other cool colours like that, because life isn't monochrome and neither is nature. So do not be scared of slapping some awesome colours down on your piece. There we are, pretty pleased with that. So I'm going to grab another dry brush, grab another colour and carry on. This time not a round dry brush. And I'm going to go for the dark red, which is up here, which is actually pretty much dry inside its pot. I need to get some more of that. That's an old pot, but I should be able to maybe revive that, I hope. So I really like this colour. Yeah, I'm getting some off on the brush. This is to go on the rocks. Not much, but I do want to add just that little bit of red before I bring it up with oranges. It's a shame that's dead. I'm going to have to go to the shop and find some more. I've not found that colour for ages, which is why I'm not throwing this pot away, because it's been dying on me for quite a long time. But yeah, it's a bit frustrating. Oh well, maybe I won't be able to do so much of that colour. What I will be able to do lots of is that one. Nice bright orange. So let's get that one going. And again, this is for putting onto the rocks more than anything else. This one is actually very watery, so I'm going to need to be a little bit more careful. But if you look around nature, you'll find that rocks are orange and purple and green and yellow and brown and red. That's just how rocks are. They are not black and white. Don't believe me? Go and look outside. There, that's added a nice bit of a contrast. So what we're now going to do is come in with cafe latte, and I'm just going to keep working away at this. I've got a nice deep purple over there that I'll also use. Deep purple, great band. But this is a useful colour if you find that you've gone a little bit overboard on the orange, which I have in places. But I don't mind going overboard in the orange, because you can bring it back with another colour and it still stays there and pops even after you've brought it back. So it's worth not feeling too nervous when you're doing this, because it is very easy, like I've said, to save any mistakes that you may have made. This is now starting to have a really nice variety and variation of colour going on. And it very much isn't just black and white anymore. Right, let's grab the purple. Here's the purple, or dark blue more. What I would call dark Prussian blue from my Vallejo paints. Now I need to be a little bit careful with this, because this could overwhelm and could end up causing a problem, because I've gone for quite cold colours and this is a bit more of a richer colour. So I just want it in places. Not too much. There we are. That's probably enough, to be honest. And just adds a little bit of variation. And variety is the spice of life. There we are. Cool. Right, now let's get the purple. So I grabbed the wrong colour then. think I'm going to let that settle for a bit. Might come back and do a bit more. Gutted about that colour. I might need to go to the shop and finish this off when I've got some more of that. But the next thing I'm going to need to do on this project very much is work on the actual building, because I've still not done the roofs. Still not done them. It won't take me long, but it's just about getting the time. And what I'm going to need to do is put some texture on the base, paint it up, and then add the dust. But I do want to get the roofs done before I do anything else. The other thing I'm going to need to do is put the lining in the hole here, which I'm ready to do now. So that might be the next thing I do. Not sure when I'm going to stick my awesome chunks of rock in. That is to go there. You can see that my little holes have worked very well. And to be honest, you can also see quite nicely that the colours I've got, if you look, it's a good kind of like, they fit in very well. So I'm obviously picking the right colours for the job. Anyway, let's work out the next steps. I'll bring you back when I come to it. Maybe sticking these in, maybe a little bit more dry brushing, maybe maybe some more dry brushing, maybe sticking those in. I think probably sticking those in, to be honest, might be the next thing, and then working on the actual mine head itself. But this is coming along really nicely now. Yeah, decision made. I'm going to stick these down, and I'm going to do it just with some PVA. So I'll put a lump of PVA, spread it around a little bit. They won't be the most secure rocks in the world. They might come out, but hopefully that, if they do fall out, they'll be easy to replace, and I won't damage the rest of the piece. So we'll just put some PVA in and glue them in place, and then let that to dry. Okay, so final touches for this disaster, and that is to come along with some white paint and just pick out the tops of the waves. Now, I've been watching, just finished editing last week's vlog, so I've actually watched some of the footage, and I think the mistakes that I made were, one, just making the pour too deep. It was pointless, it wasn't necessary. And when I started to pull the monster up towards the top, I should have been paying attention and realised, no, drop it down the bottom, get it to very near the bottom, and then cut the edges down and even make a new mould, because that was what caused me to kind of go a little bit overboard. I tried to do way too much resin, which then meant that I made mistakes when I was pouring the resin, because I went for way too thick, way too deep pours per pour, I think. But as I say, the only way to not make mistakes is to never make anything at all, and that isn't what I do. I'm very happy to make mistakes and have them on the channel and learn from them, and hopefully encourage and inspire people to not care about mistakes, because mistakes are just part of life. So yeah, that's probably my evaluation of what I got wrong. But now that I am looking at it, it's actually okay. That's a really violent sea, isn't it? So when that's dried, I'll be able to take some okay pictures of it. But yeah, ultimately I'm not sure whether this will ever actually stay on the shelf, or whether I might just bin it. And I don't bin much of my stuff. So I was asked by my mate on the TCU Discord to do some test prints for him. Now, people who watch this channel a lot will recognise him. This guy is called Odgardian, and I've printed some of his stuff before. The Orsonar Ammon Hen Fallen Head, which was a great project, had good fun with it. This is a mimic, a mimic that is a column, that's the word, a column mimic. And he basically rendered it yesterday and sent it over to me to test print. I've worked with him a little bit on a few mistakes in the actual files, which is perfectly understandable and fine. And I've just finished printing that. These have come off my resin Elegoo Mars 2, and I must admit I'm very impressed from what I can see. Really impressed. I supported them myself, and they've come out quite well. So I will be putting a link to where you can get these if you want to, and I will be painting this up and assembling it as well. But yeah, this is just literally just come out of the wash and cure. Well, it hasn't cured yet, just come out of the wash. I'm going to take the supports off and then go and cure it. But I'm very, very impressed, and thought I'd show that off. I've got a few more things on his to print as well. There's the column turning into a mimic, which is also cool, but I'm mostly excited about the mimic one because yeah, it's really, really looking great. I'm very, very impressed. So yeah, that's that. I'll bring you along for me painting and basing this up, and then it can become another cool random thing on my shelf. Alright, so cleaned up and cured, and I must say I am very, very pleased with this. It's printed out perfectly, and the little kind of keying that he's done, and he said he didn't know if he was going to do it right, and he really wanted this to be done right. And I'm not. I've got a free print out of this, but I need to help him. Didn't ask really for it, but all I can tell you is that he has keyed that perfectly. Look at that. There is barely a joint, and the tiniest joint at the back, which will be very easy to just clean up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this together, but I'm going to glue this together in stages, so I won't do it all in on camera, I don't think. This goes through to here, and then this sits upside down and slightly at an angle like that. So basically I'll glue this on next, and then that will come along and join there, and you can see that that fits perfectly. So the only thing that's missing on this at the moment is actually the base. I'm waiting for Odgardian to give me a new version of that so I can print that out, and I'll hopefully get to do that tonight and add to that tomorrow, because then I can start painting it. But yeah, superb job, mate. You really have smashed this out of the park, and yeah, really, really easy to print, really easy to support, and really easy to assemble. So what more can you ask for? It looks great as well. Scary. I might have finished my diorama, but I'm so unhappy with it that I'm not going to enter it for the paint or the minis. What's it? I'm going to do a different one, which actually makes me a bit happy, because I wasn't really very happy with doing one entry for 2 competitions. It's not really how I like to work. So what I've done is I found this this shark bear, which I laughed so much when I saw it I had to print. So I'm going to paint this up and have a look at putting it onto a base and what have you. I've not got very much time now, so I'm going to have to get that going. I'll try to remember to put the link for the file in the description below if you want to find it, but it is Shark Bear on My Mini Factory, so you really can find it very easily. And yeah, it's really cool, printed out very well, easy to support, and yeah, so I'm going to prime that now, and then I'll start painting it properly tomorrow. So what I'm going to do now is use black terrain paint, and I'm going to do this in little patches just to try to avoid the warp. So I'll probably do a little bit now and a little bit later. It's going to dry quite fast, it's warm here at the moment. But yeah, a bit of black paint mixed with PVA and a little bit of washing up liquid or dish soap, depending on which side of the Atlantic you live. And then what we'll do is we'll scatter some sand on it, and I will just move the camera up and around so you can see. I mean, you see this 100 times I'm sure on my channel, but it is literally just a case of put some sand on it and then let it fall off, and that's done. So this is gonna put the texture, and then after that what I'll do is I'll paint it in the same way as I did for the base. I'll bring you along for that, but I'm going to get this texture done. I'll bring you along when I come to actually doing the painting. This is going to be another fun little project to give to Rosie. This is from a Kickstarter that I backed called Moxie the Brutal. And yeah, they had a dragon slayer, so we've printed this out over the last day or so. Come out really, really nicely. There's Moxie. So I need to glue them together, and then I'll paint them. So you can see it fits together really, really nicely. And then there were multiple head options, so the heads are separate. I went for Smiling Moxie. So there's a base as well, which is waiting downstairs. That's curing, but I figured that I'd get this stuck together. It's very early in the morning. We're heading off to Greece for a little beach day, so I thought I'd stick this together and get this primed, and then I can start painting it up Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how it looks actually. It printed out very, very nicely. So yeah, I'll get that done, just a bit of super glue, and I'll bring you along when I probably after I've painted it, show what it looks like sat on its base. Well, that glued together really, really nicely, and I finally managed to get the base cured, and you can see that this goes together beautifully. I quite often have problems with models that have keys or whatever that come from Kickstarter. That key probably will need to be trimmed a little bit. You can see that she's a little bit high, but that's not the biggest problem in the world to trim that down. The issue is the resin actually expands as it cures, so if they don't leave a good kind of like good sized hole with a bit of give, then it's not going to join. And you can see here that I have got a little bit of an issue at the back, which I'm going to need to do a little bit of filling on, but not too bad and not too much. So I will probably get my Mr. Filler here, Mr. Dissolve Putty, and fill those in. And actually I might do that now. So what I'll do is I'll grab my toothpicks, because I've found that this is best applied with toothpicks. Now, I've said this a few times, so I am repeating myself a little bit from previous videos, but hey, good advice is good advice. You can use a brush, but toothpicks I've found are much better. And the other thing I've actually found recently is this goes off very quickly when it's warm, and it has been warm here, so I need to move relatively fast. So what I basically do is encourage it into place with my toothpick, shoving it around and cleaning up any overspill, and it just kind of like fills the gap, which is what you want from a gap filler, I suppose. But it's just really good stuff. It was actually Brushstroke, a good friend of mine, who recommended this to me. I've not spoken to him for ages. Need to get in touch with him. Keep seeing videos of his. Need to send him a message. Anyway, he's a fantastically talented painter. If you haven't seen his videos, go and check his channel out. He does done very, very well. And he is also a supreme human being, so he deserves all the success and whatever that he can have. So if you haven't come across him before, go check him out and tell him that I sent you. But yeah, anyway, so I'll get that filled. Once the filler is in, it goes off. What you can do is you can come along and tidy it up with the same toothpick or with a different toothpick if you'd rather. And yeah, then you won't have any gaps. So I'll get this done, and then I'll bring it back for the next step. When I get to it, it's probably going to be priming, so I probably won't bring it back for that, but I'll probably bring it back once I've primed, and then we'll talk about the colour scheme, because colour scheme is very important for dragons. Right, enough rambling, nearly finished. I'll bring you back for the next step when I get to it. This absolutely awesome sculpt from Damien Printomancer is going to be my November painting for my paint a bust a month. I know it's not a bust, but it kind of is. It's almost a statuette, but I don't care, it's beautiful. However, it has quite a few gaps in it, so it's too much for me to do my Mr. Putty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Milliput. So I've tried to mix a small amount. It's incredibly difficult to mix small amounts of Milliput, I've found, but hopefully this won't be too much. I hate waste. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that gap with Milliput. I'm going to use a sculpting tool to shove it in and blend it and all that stuff, and then this will become just go as one of my paintings for, as I say, for my bust a month, which I'm having great fun doing. I just was one short, and this came through on Kickstarter. He shipped it to me as a file, so I thought, you know what, that's going to be the one. So I'm not going to do much of this on camera because it's actually something I really struggle with and I want to get into a better position. Basically what I do is I take a little sausage of the Milliput, put it on my hobby tool here, which is a little sculpting tool, and then let's go from the back, put it in place, and then when it's in place you can shove and push, meld, and just basically fill the gap. But the difficulty here is I obviously do not want to obscure any of the fantastic details he's done, so I just need to be careful of that. But there we are. And what I'll do is I'll come back when that's gone off. I'll come back and see if I need to add any more. Hopefully I won't. But yeah, so I'm just going to sit and do this now. Get that all filled all the way around. Little gaps in here are going to be the hardest ones, I think. But yeah, I'll when I've finished, I'll show you what it looks like. There's a big gap there, you can see. It was really, the problem is the resin expanded as it was curing, so it was fitted really well before I cured it, and I should have glued it then, but I didn't. And then after it came out of the cure station, it wouldn't go back together again quite as well. It's amazing how the same processes show up over and over on these builds. What I'm going to do now is dry brush of my dark grey over pretty much everything. I've decided that I am going to leave these stones with their natural colour for now. I can always change my mind. I do still have a bit of a warp on this. This is one of my issues I have with working with MDF, is it does warp really easily. But it's not the end of the world. It's usable, it's playable. This is a playing piece. But yeah, I don't think I'll be buying much more MDF for basing purposes anyway. So yeah, just going to get this lightly dry brushed with the dark grey. And then what I'm probably going to do is dry brush with a lighter grey, and then with some browns and other colours. And then what I might do is come along with more of my normal stones, which, as you can see, dry brush down quite nicely actually, and put some of those on and then build more colours up. So I'm just going to do lots and lots of very simple dry brushing over the top of this to add textures, make it look dirty and old. And then once that's done, I will come in with some creepers and vines and really build up quite a lot of greenery as well, because while it might be like quite dead greenery or old greenery, I still think there is going to be growing things. So there we are. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll come along with the lighter grey, which will be a much lighter dry brush. And then when I've done those two things, I'll show you what I'm going to do with more of the gravel. For the past, I don't know how long, I've been tripping over this because I put it all on the floor in room 13. It's been doing my head in, but I really don't want to throw this away. And I want to make a whole load of scatter terrain out of all of these offcuts. So that's what I'm about to do. You can see we've got some really interesting shapes. This is why I kept it. This here could be an archway, or it could be like a cove or something like that. We've got all sorts of interesting shapes. So what I'm going to do is pick out a few. I'll go into detail. I'm going to do something with all of them, but I'll go into detail on some of them. Particularly this one, I think, is going to be a really nice kind of like dead end with potentially some trees on the top maybe. The first one I'm looking at doing, I'll shift everything out of the way, is this beauty. So my plan is to have this as a rock archway. However, it's not going to be stable at the moment, so I'm going to need to trim it down slightly. So what I'm going to do is get my knife, which I've just buried, and cut this bit off just here, just dead eyeing it, and then cut this bit off just here. There we are. And there we have a awesome looking beginning to an archway. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this now. This is the first one I'm going to work on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a ladder or some steps going up here so that you can get onto the top. Going to sculpt the front and back so it looks like it's going to basically be rock. It's going to be a rock face. and then what I'll do is I'll put some little steps in here so it's possible to access and possible to go underneath. So that's the idea. And then I might put a platform, I'm not sure. But yeah, so the first thing to do here then is I'm going to play in my mind that someone has actually, basically this has been affected, like I say, by humans. So I'm actually going to leave this block on the side. It's actually going to be very, very easy to do this. I'm going to need to cover over this texture. I won't need to cover it over on this side because it's been battered. This actually was used for insulating my property and was some of it was thrown away. I've had this for 7 years, this block. So that shows how tight I am. So I'll skim this front side off and then divot it to make it into rocks. And then what I'm going to do is start to build a ladder up the back. So I'll build that off the terrain, but make it the right height so it can be glued on. And then we'll start texturing, painting, and it'll be done. And this is going to be really, really quick, I think, and it will look great on the tabletop. So I can use a Proxon to skim the top of this. So I will go and get that set up, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. And then we'll crack on with the next thing. Well, I lied to you accidentally. I can't use a Proxon to take that off because it's too big here to get into the gap and to go through the guard. So I'm going to have to come along with a knife and very carefully shave this texture off because you really don't want this texture. So this will take me a little bit of time, so I probably won't run the camera for all of it, but this is basically what I'm going to do, is very, very carefully, like so, shave it off. So I'll get that done and I'll bring it back for the next step when I get to it. I'm staring at this and I'm wondering if I need to add anything more. The line between the base of the actual building and the base is a little bit obvious for me, and I have been wondering whether I might put a fence around, so stick a fence here and then a fence along here, just to make it a little bit more of a feature rather than being a problem. I was going to put a load of tufts and what have you, but I just don't think there would be very many tufts or very much grass up here. So I'm going to leave it for now, let that settle. Like I say, I might do a fence. If I haven't made a decision by the time you see this, then please do comment below and let me know what you think. So I might do a fence, but I'm not sure. As it is, I think it looks great. The one thing I do need to still do, and I have been making a little bit of progress but not very much, is I need to line the sides of the actual shaft, and I've done all of the roofing apart from this bit, which I need to do, so that won't take me very long. But the other bits, the other roofs, are all done and waiting to be painted and then dry brushed and then finished. So yeah, I just think I need to look at it for a little bit more, and as I say, maybe take some advice. So I would really welcome input on what you think. Do comment below. But other than that, I think that's a really lovely piece. I think it looks really nice. I think it's going to be really playable. There's access here, there's access here. You could even game that you can access here with a successful climb, and all the way around, because there's this little ledge. So 2 successful climbs could maybe get you up there. So it's not like too much of a monolith, but it looks brilliant. And you can imagine potentially there being like the bad guys are in the mine, and the sheriffs have to come and get them or whatever. So yeah, really, really pleased with how it's looking all in, and I really like the crystals. I just need to decide what to do with the edge of the actual MDF kit. I do think that maybe a little fence might not go wrong, but I'm gonna think about it for a bit. Well, here we are. We have cardboard underneath the areas that have leaked previously, big boxes that are going to sit here, and I'm about to start and do another little bit of mixing and hopefully pour some resin and hopefully not get a tide mark, and hopefully it's all going to work. So fingers crossed, I'll report back and let you know how it goes, but let's get this pour on. Alright, so after some thinking, I've decided the next thing I'm going to do on this is tufts. Decided I'm not going to put any flock down. Just don't think there would be much in this case. So what I've got is just out of shot. I've got some PVA on a plate, and these actually are ones that had fallen off of the sheet. So so I'm just sticking them in like this. But I always apply tufts by dipping them into some PVA first and then sticking them on, because in my experience, if you don't do that, then after a while that sticky that they come with does fail, and they'll be falling off of your terrain. So I'm going to get this done. I've got some wheat bushes as well here, some Geek Gaming's dead tufts, some Serious Play dead tufts, and also I've got some Briar Patch dry brown. So that's what I'm going to be working on, and I'll be putting this all over. Not too much, because then it wouldn't be playable, but I will be building up some interesting textures using these materials. So I'll pop some music on and you can watch how this develops. Well, yesterday I hacked and removed the texture on that side. What I've now done is mixed up some of my grout mix. If you want to know how I do that, there's a link to a video in the bottom of every single one of my videos. So just you can just see that if you want to. But basically what I'm going to do is paint this over. This will give a texture and it will also give it a colour. So I'll probably have to do this in a couple of applications, probably take more than one, and I'll probably have to let it go off so I can pick up the piece. But it does dry quite quickly, it does go off quite quickly when you spread it thin. And then once this is done, we can start to do the rest of the piece. As I say, this is designed to be a very, very quick how to make scatter terrain from offcuts. So some of the other pieces I might do a little bit more fancy. This one just lent itself immediately to what I'm doing. So yeah, so I'll get this done and bring it back for the next step once it's finished, once I'm ready, once I finish this. Yeah, well, then we'll have an awesome archway with ladders on it and what have you when I've finished. Quite excited about this. I think it's going to look very, very cool. So anyway, yeah, let's just get this painted on and I'll bring you back when I'm doing the next step. So while the grout dries in another piece, I'm going to start on this piece, which I want to be a bay, so it wants to be flat down. So what I'm going to need to do with this, and I could do this with a hot wire cutter, unfortunately this is going to waste some of the material, but I'm going to basically come along with my knife, taking the texture off, but also making it a little bit less regular, because at the moment it's a bit flat, so kind of making the edge a bit beveled and just hacking away. So I'll get that done, because the plan is potentially as well to put a cave into this, but I'm not sure if I will at the moment. It's not quite deep enough. It does have an overhang at the back, which I'm going to keep. I'm going to make that overhang a little bit more, a little bit smoother, a little bit less 90 degrees. But yeah, hack away carefully, because by necessity I'm often cutting towards myself, which isn't very sensible. but it's very tough XPS, so it's hard to cut away from yourself on this stuff. So just do small bits and don't force it. And if you can cut away from yourself, then do so. So yeah, I'll get that done, get this all trimmed off. I won't film it all because, yeah, I probably also could do with not having to worry about being in shot while I've got a blade. So yeah, oh, that was close. That's why you've got to be careful. Right, I'm going to stop filming now, get this done in a slightly safer way. And when I've finished doing that, I'll bring you back and I'll show you the next step for this piece. And there we have it. I've hacked away at it. Made it a little bit less, not quite, I might do a little bit more on the back actually, but a little bit less even and regular. Might need to do some cuts on that side. I've done some on this side, I might do some on that side. But that basically is going to be the rough shape. So I'm going to clear this up. Like I say, I might do a couple more cuts on this side just to make it a little bit more uneven. Because while rock faces can be that smooth, it's not very common, and it's so easy to just hack out some. This foam is just brilliant. I need to get more of it. It's so easy to hack out little divots and what have you, and then you've instantly got a bit of a rock face. There we are, I've done that. So yeah, I'll get that cleaned up, and then I'll paint this with the same stuff as I did the other one. So I won't film that. So I'll put the grout mix on this, and then we'll look at the next one. This is fun. So I come to this next day, and I just thought I'd show quickly the coverage that I normally get after one coating of this. So if you do see that it's quite patchy, don't worry, that's pretty normal. What I'll do now is apply a second coat, and the mix that I made yesterday I did store in the fridge, and it does stay, as you can see, it stays useful. So just chuck it in the fridge, maybe cover it in cling film or saran wrap if you're from America, that's what they call it there. And that will keep it going so you don't waste. And the final thing, and this is a guess actually, I'm not sure whether this is the truth, but I keep calling this grout mix. Now what I'm meaning is the stuff you put between tiles. I don't know whether Americans call that something different. Maybe one of my American viewers can let me know if you do call the stuff that you put between tiles to fill the gap between two tiles is called grout over there, or whether it's called something else, and I can remember to use that in the future. But yeah, it's that kind of powdery stuff. That's what I use to make this, with about 50-50 with some very fine sand, and then a lot of PVA and a tiny splash of water, and you get this really nice texture, and it's pretty hard wearing, and the key to the hard wearing is the PVA. Anyway, if you want to see more about that, then as I said before, there is a link to a specific video about it down below. But yeah, it just occurred to me that I might have been using a Brit term, and you Yanks wouldn't know what I was on about. Anyway, I now need to mix some more up, so I'll get that done, get this second coat painted on, and let it dry, and then bring it back for the next step. Well, the very good news is that did work. So there's the very slightest of tide marks, which is always the case when you pour, because you pour it heavy one side and then it spreads across. But there is absolutely nothing in my cardboard boxes. Not that I'm going to move the cardboard boxes for any future pour, I'm going to leave them there. But that's very, very good news. The worst news is I don't actually know if I've got enough resin. So this has been 24 hours now, and it's nice and hard. So I'll be able to do another pour. I did about 5 or 6 at 750ml yesterday, and it tickled it up. So yeah, I think I'm going to probably need to buy some more. But it is looking great. I mean, all the details are visible. There's the scary monster. It's not focusing in very well. Anyway, just really relieved it didn't leak, and yeah, I'll keep pouring and bring you back probably when I'm going to the end. I've also got to do the river at some point, which I need to work out how to do, because that needs to be more of a rushing river than a placid river. So I might actually need to jack the end up a bit to keep it flat, and
yeah, so I can pour the resin and then I can do some texture on the top. But I'm not sure. Anyway, muttering because I'm thinking. Let's keep pouring. Right, so I've painted up Shark Bear. Had a lot of fun painting that. And then the plan now is to do a base. And so I've got this scrap of blue foam, which is going to be perfect for me, because what I want to do is want to have him stood on a shoreline. So I'm going to cut out like this, roughly like that, and then shave here, and then going to make use of some grout to put sand down, and then I'll build some waves. So it's going to be a really simple build in one sense, but hopefully it'll look really good. So I'll get that cut out just using a sharp knife, and then I'll bring you along for the next steps when I get to them. I'm not sure whether I'm going to get this done in time, because technically I think I should be finishing it this coming week. But the paint job didn't take me very long. I just had quite a busy week, so I got distracted quite a lot. But now what we need to do is cut that out and then shave. Sorry, this is very noisy, so I might actually stop filming in a second. But we're going to shave so we get a really, really smooth angle coming up like this. And I'll shave and shave and shave so it's very smooth. And I'll bring you back when I've done that, because yeah, it's just too noisy to film with. But yeah, we're just going to have a really smooth angle coming up, and he'll be sat at the top here with the waves coming up towards him. So I'll bring you back when we get to the next step. To say that I spent most of the week doing Battle Games Middle Earth videos and then realised just how much else I got done. Well, it always amazes me. Also this week we spent a day in Greece. Forgot about that when I did the intro. Absolutely wonderful day, really, really lovely. And so there might be another memory board coming out of that. Rosie did find some beautiful things. There's some little broken shells on the beach, which she loved, so I might do a small one for her room. But anyway, great week, really enjoyed it. Lots of little bits of progress, and so nice to have not failed again with resin. So yeah, let's keep that up, eh? Anyway, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, really do appreciate it. I know that my videos are longer than most, and I appreciate every single one of you that takes the time to view and enjoy them. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Do let me know in the comments below. I do love reading them. I do reply to them all. And as I say at the moment, if any of you is affected directly or indirectly by the horrible war in Ukraine, then my thoughts go out to you. And to everyone, please do stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.